Is that good? I was trying to make the creepiest face I could to start. What's going on, everybody? It's Elwood, and happy freaking Friday. And thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us once again. We've had so many questions discussing what is going to happen with concerts. I have concert tickets. What's going to happen to them? But before we do any of that, first we have to address the venues and making sure we take care of them and find out they're going to be okay in the future. So I thought to myself, who is the one person that I can contact that is in the middle of all this, that is not only in the middle of the venues and booking and touring and managing bands and doing it all? It's my man, Frank, from The Forge and FM Entertainment. So without further ado, welcome, Frank.
What's up, brother? What's happening, man?
Dude, you got the WWE. Are you live at The Forge right now with lights going and everything?
We're live on the stage at The Forge, and I got Jimmy, my lighting guy, and my music director, production manager here, and he's going to make all the bells and whistles, man. Give you guys a show while you're here.
This is awesome. We got to do a show like this. Just throw a band up there. We'll be good. I can't believe you don't have one right now.
If I played harmonica or spoons or something, I'd probably do something, but I don't want to bore you guys.
Well, Frank, first off, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us today and do this. Obviously, people have millions of questions, and I know people have been reaching out to me so much, and I can only imagine what you have been going through about rescheduling and touring, plus working your own bands and getting it all together. First question just is, how have you been handling it? You doing all right mentally?
Yeah, man. You know, I think, one of the things about being a promoter is, 25 years, me, myself, kind of going through and rolling with punches. I mean, and that's just it, especially in the early years. It's like, I hate to say you get acclimated with troublesome times, but you do. It's like, it's just the nature of the business. And right now is just, to me, another obstacle that we're going to need to get over. It's lasting a little bit, probably longer than anybody, cares to see it here, but we'll get through it. Some things may change on the outside and the other side, but the idea is to support each other, support the communities, support the industry and the people within it. And if we do that, I think we won't skip a beat when we come out the other side.
That's perfect, because that leads me right into a brand new campaign. And I would love for you to give everybody a little bit of background on the hashtag Save Our Stages, because right now, obviously, everyone is looking for bailouts or stimulus checks or how are we going to survive? And I need to get government money. But correct me if I'm wrong, in all of these bailouts and stuff, music venues were never even thought about. Are they considered a small business? Are they in a different branch? What exactly is happening on that front for taking care of these small venues?
I mean, unfortunately, our industry is pretty much an afterthought when it comes to, daily lives as far as the economy goes. So, we find ourselves, faced with some challenge that some of the other people that are dealing with things right now, they're not dealing with some of the things that we are. It's like a lot of the people within our industry, when the doors shut, everything behind them shut, all the revenue shut, basically everything in their life was shut out. And for me, it's like, that's the hardest thing. It's like, we have, I know, speaking for me and all the venues that I book, but especially this one, because I'm an owner, at The Forge, it's like one of the hardest thing is to see is, a fantastic staff of people that love music, that are engaged and live the life because they love it, being shut out. And there's really no recourse. There's really nothing. It's like everybody's at the mercy of the next switch that's going to get flipped, and hopefully put everybody back to work. And for me, that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. I wish we were higher up on the totem pole as far as what our industry was, as far as the public and what they look at it, especially how the government looks at it. I mean, to me, music is such an integral part of everybody's daily lives. Sometimes it's the only thing that can legitimately put a smile on somebody's face and take your mind off of everything else that's going on, such as times like this. The problem is there's no positive recourse for those people right now within the industry to see anything, so I'm hoping sooner than later we'll kind of get back to normal. And I'm hoping sooner than later, my staff, everybody else's staff, bands, managers, agents, everybody down to the guy that takes the garbage out is going to get back to work, because everybody's in this business because they love it. Regardless of what side of the fence or whatever, regardless of, what facet of the job they're taking part in, everybody comes together to make a show, to make a good time, to make a lasting impression, and everybody's just as important. So I just want to see everybody get back.
If people go to Save Our Stages, are they taking donations? Is there something they can sign that goes to the government? What exactly is the best thing people can do to help?
Well, for NEVA, so NEVA, that was put together. I mean, obviously, you guys see a lot of different, GoFundMe accounts and different things out there as far as what's going on, and that's all great stuff. That's all independently, derived from promoters, venues, and people, in specific marketplaces. NEVA was put together as a conglomerate, coming together of basically all the venues, the independent venues within our industry across the nation. So as opposed to, single entities, we have a unified voice between everybody that's out there. And we got some great people that are out there actually taking the horns and running with what's going on, going to our government, pleading our case as far as what's going on. It's like, simple numbers, it's like, over 1,300 venues are looking at, possible, bankruptcies, in the next 3 months. The last, there was an email that went out, and it was a questionnaire. It's like, hey, basically how long could you survive as a venue? And the last recall that I saw as far as what came back was, 1,300 venues are possibly looking at, extinction after 3 months because they're not going to have enough capital to get through. Our industry adds, right now they're saying, $8.9 billion in lost revenue through this right now, which, which the arts and cultures, as far as, the actual economy contributes about $877 billion in product, which is, it's a massive industry. And there's a lot of people that make that up. And unfortunately, a lot of those people work without safety nets. And like I said, when the door's shut, unfortunately, there's not much recourse until everybody says they could go back to work. So
I think that's one of the craziest things we're dealing with is right now is people keep looking to what happens next. And I think what a lot of people have to realize is you guys are writing the protocol for this because this is something like this has never happened before. Correct? No one has ever told you can't have a concert for what we're going on 3 months now. That's never happened. Not in your career. You've never seen anything like it, right? No,
obviously we've never seen this in the industry. And honestly, in my lifetime, I've never seen nothing like this in daily life either. So, there's no playbook, there's no rule book here. I think a lot of people are kind of searching for answers as we go. So, one group has an opinion completely opposite of the other. I'm not saying anybody is wrong. All I know is I can speak on behalf of the people that work alongside me in my industry, and I know where they're hurting from. It's like from the standpoint of the survival of our industry, if 1,100, even if half of those venues went away, would be catastrophic to our industry in developing bands, developing talent. It's like nobody wakes up one day and all of a sudden you're an arena or an amphitheater band. And there has to be development, and the development starts in small rooms, as the Forge and other places around the country with small independent promoters that are willing to put in the time, put in the sacrifice for the love of what they do in the band that they're promoting. And we need to kind of get back to that, and start letting these people get back to work in their daily lives.
I was talking about this a little bit the other day because I think this is a big thing right now. Is I find it very not ironic. I can't see the right word for it. But when you said 13,000 venues could go bankrupt, and I love how they asked the question, how long can you survive without any shows? Let's be honest, Frank, a lot of venues barely survive with shows. So when you take them all away and you're trying to do it, you're like, we're not surviving now. If you take away my life for 3 months, which is why we're seeing restaurants fold and bars fold, because in the industry of entertainment, especially music and stuff, it's kind of like living paycheck to paycheck a lot of times, right? You have big wins and you have big losses. So when you take away all the big wins and the losses, you're kind of left flat ass. You're left with nothing. Is that wrong for me to say?
No, that's positively right. It's like, we have, our little ecosystem that we deal with is a small, microcosm of the economy in general. It's like when a tour is booked, basically all the revenues from that tour is factored in and is split up between all the venues. And in between that little microcosm, every facet of that tour and every stop of that tour, both sides of the fence, whether it's the band side and whether it's the promoter side, venue side, You just have to realize everybody has to go home with enough of the pie to keep their lights on, to put food in their stomach and have a life. I mean, it's not one side or the other. It's the whole wheel has to work together, or it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And the way it is right now, with the venues, especially the way, I mean, in the situation that it is and how they're hurting, you know, if there's anything I could tell anybody that's out there, that's sympathetic in what's going on, and they love music, and they love, you know, going to places to see live music. If there's one thing that you could possibly do to support anybody that's out there is if you have tickets to a show and you want to see that show, whether or not it's going to be rescheduled in 2 months or a year, the best thing you could do for anybody at this point, outside of making a donation to a venue, is keep your ticket in place, and to keep that revenue right where it's at in that ticketing, and wait for that show to come back around. Because right now, with many of the venues that are out there, the saving grace, the lifeblood of what's actually keeping places really in play right now is having ticket revenue in the bank to have working capital to pay for what they have to pay for to get through this. If everybody got a refund on a show, all these venues, they'd all be gone tomorrow. I could promise you. I mean, it wouldn't last a week. If you take them of that, if you strip them of that, you're basically killing the industry. And I understand everybody has things they have to do to keep their daily lives going, and I totally 100% respect that. But if there's anything that you could do to really help the industry, is keep your ticket right where it's at. Let's wait for these shows to get rescheduled, and we all go back and we make this thing happen again in a bigger way than it was before. But that is the number one thing to do.
See, that's a really interesting point, because I don't think I've heard anyone discuss that more. Obviously, the headlines were that some of the major promoters around the world were saying, we're not going to refund people if we move a show because the show has been moved, so we're not going to refund you. That's you bought a ticket to a show, we're still doing that. And a lot of those places took a lot of slack. But at the same time, hearing this from you, saying this is the best way for bands and venues to survive, is something that people really need to hear. I mean, guys, we're not messing around when we say venues are in trouble of not opening their doors ever again. And you got to think back to all these small clubs where you saw your favorite bands play. Shit, Frank has been in charge of some clubs around the Chicago area where the biggest bands in the world started off with. And I know, because I've seen all you post your tickets from some of the biggest bands. I mean, you saw Disturbed grow from nothing, right? I mean, Disturbed was nothing to where they are today. And that was with you back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million stories like that, and there's a million things that make us all go back and you know, make us understand why we appreciate where we're at. Because I seen, you know, just as myself, you know, starting off at the smallest of places, watching the growth across the board, whether it's, you know, me as a promoter, it's the guys in Disturbed as a band, and I say this all the time, you know, Johnny K, it's like we're all Southsiders, we all kind of watched. It's like I'm the guy handing out flyers for shows, the Serv's playing them, and Johnny's recording them. You know what I mean? It's kind of goofy, you know, but that's how it is. It's kind of the lifeblood of what kind of makes this business the way it is, and the long-lasting relationships that you create within it, you know, makes you who you are. So it's an awesome industry. It just happens to be in a bad place right now.
So I see that their first rock show in the U.S. was supposed to go off today, actually, but they received a cease and desist because they said that they weren't up to the right health regulations, so that concert didn't happen. I know some country guy did a drive-in movie concert or a drive-in concert down in Nashville. They tried. So everyone's biggest question is a question that I think none of us really have an answer when they say, when will concerts come back in full? We don't know, correct?
No, we don't know. And the problem is there's so many variables. And the thing is, you have to understand, as far as touring, it has to be economical for the band and how they actually get out on the road and get from start to finish. If you can't do that economically, you know, there's only so far you could drive in between cities because of you know, regulations and transportation. Now, whether if you're on a bus, if you're in a small van, there's only so far you're going to drive. You could possibly drive to where it's a safe drive. You know, with the amount of states that are shut down and cities that have different regulations, the only way you're going to see true touring the way it was in the past is when everything opens up and you could get back to the same old spot that you were before, count on the venues that you had before, hope to God everybody in the infrastructure and the touring world is back in place. Because if you have to skip, the thing you have to understand, one venue could cause you an overdrive of 500-600 miles, which, you know, is going to cost a band a lot of money. It's going to cost them a day off. It's going to cost them an overdrive. It isn't, I mean, there's a lot of repercussions when we start taking away the dots that we connect. Mm-hmm. So it's imperative that we keep all these venues in place for a lot of different reasons, especially on the band side. You know, obviously it sustains what's going on with the venues and their livelihood. But if bands are truly going to tour, get to all these places that they need to go to, they have to do it systematically, economically, and it has to be worthwhile, you know, in a healthy, safe way. So it's important. It's important how we're going to open up. I think what you are going to see, I think you're going to see a lot of segmented stuff. I think, you know, it's like just as we closed, there was capacity regulations on you know, how many people could be in the venue. I think it's going to open up the same way. So you're going to see smaller shows. You're going to see some stuff. Obviously, it's all start up locally. We'll start introducing, I think you'll start introducing national touring bands in some capacity, probably within a month after that. And, you know, hopefully right after the first year, 2021, we could get back to actual structured touring like we used to.
Yes, I guess that's the big question is, as an owner and as a promoter, if they bring in restrictions and say you're only allowed to operate whatever their phases are, the first phase, 20% for restaurants, up to 50%. What's the number that makes it even worth opening? Because if they tell you you can only operate at 20%, is it worth turning on the lights and powering up the board and having a staff? Because I'm not a businessman, but I feel like from a business point of view, I'm going to lose money by opening the doors and I'm already down.
It really comes down to simple economics and whatever that may be. I mean, what you're faced with as a venue and a promoter and a talent buyer is cause and effect. You know, what you're going to pay, what you're going to get back. And if your numbers and what you're paying isn't going to equal what you're going to get back, then it makes no sense. You're better off staying neutral, not making anything, because now you have a chance of actually going backwards. And instead of not making money, now it's costing you money to do a show. So there's going to be a lot of it's going to be a tricky slope, man. It's going to be a slippery slope, you know, going through some of this, kind of getting back. You know, I'm hoping the whole industry, both sides of the fence, and you know, me speaking to agents every day and managers, I think everybody understands what we have to kind of do to get through this. And there is going to be some trying times. Everybody needs to keep their head. You know, it's like settlements at the end of the night can't turn into bloodbaths where, you know, somebody's demanding more so than anybody else. You know, it's like if we keep even heads will prevail here. Everybody, I think, was going to get through this as long as we do that. And, you know, the biggest thing is getting the support from the public when it's time to do that. It's like,
yes,
you know, the misconception for me is, you know, the people in this industry are self-centered and are ignorant with not being supportive to everybody else that's concerned about a virus or being sick. And that's simply not true. It's like the only thing I could say on our side is when the only thing you possibly have is what's in front of you, and that's taken away, and you go home and you have no recourse for anything. You know, it's like, I'm never going to tell anybody how they're going to live their life. But what everybody on this side of the fence is saying, they can't live their lives at all. They have zero revenue coming in. And it's easy to say you need to be apathetic about what's going on the other side. But you also have to be apathetic with the people within this industry that are starving. I mean, literally, you know, watching their lives crumble around them, and there's no recourse. They can't collect unemployment. They're not getting small business funds, and they're not getting any help or any kind of recourse from anybody else to tell them what's coming around the bend. You know, so it's kind of like flying by the seat of your pants with really nothing. I mean, you have no safety net whatsoever, and you're just kind of out there waiting for somebody to tell you, you know, when your life is going to start again. So
are you planning anything moving forward at your clubs, such as the Forge, if they come to you and say, you can open at this capacity? Are you already thinking about floor plans and second floor plans of saying, okay, I can bring in these bands and I can have this many people if we separate them here and here and here, and we're going to need face masks and we'll need hand sanitizer? Is that something that you're already planning, looking forward to?
I'm going to open the doors of this place anytime we possibly can. I mean, that's the reality of it. I need to get my people back to work. You know, I need this building to get back going. I need to support the people that are on the road that are looking for the same thing that we are. So no matter what it's going to take, I'm going to do that. What it's going to look like when that happens, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I could plan for a million different things, honestly, and a million different could be popping up tomorrow as far as what I'm thinking today. So
yeah.
To that, to your question, no, I honestly haven't been really diving that far into it. I know what I do. I know what I could do as far as capacities and what they're going to tell me if I have limits. I know how I'm going to get around that. Anything beyond that, and just the standard precautionary, things that we're going to do to keep the public safe. Outside of that, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna kind of be at the mercy of what they throw at us.
When I grew up in Jersey. Pretty much everybody knows. Go Jets! There you go. I love Frank. I love that. But I used to go to a club growing up where I got to go see all of my first hardcore and punk rock shows. That was when Madball and Agnostic Front and VOD and Bouncing Souls and all the New York City and Jersey hardcore came up. Well, a very famous venue there was shutting down because they couldn't make money anymore. So what happened was all these large bands that grew up playing in there came back to those venues and played free shows to raise the funds to make sure that those doors stayed open. Do you see maybe a large influx of maybe big bands that are huge, that have that power to raise money at the top level for all of these venues? Do you think we would be able to organize something where some of the larger bands come back to their grassroots to help out and keep these stages going?
I mean, look, it's to everybody's self-discretion and what they do. All I know is the rest of the industry is hurting just as we are. I mean, that's the reality. That's the reality of it. It's like, in that instance, in that circumstance, the people you're asking to bail you out or help you bail you out are basically in the same boat as you. So
that's true.
It's like I would rather look at different sources of revenue and support in the ways of help coming back to this industry. And helping those very people that you're talking about, even the bigger bands, man. It's like if anything, they're going to be the last to go back. The bands that are playing arenas and amphitheaters, I'm gonna at least be able to open my doors somewhat soon, hopefully. Arenas and gatherings of 15 to 25,000 people. I have no idea when that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen anytime near the same time I open. So, they're going to need support as well.
Yeah. All right. So if anybody's just joining the conversation, on with Frank from F Entertainment, The Forge, Concord, all across the Midwest, the man does it all. If you missed out on the best advice that we could give you, and I know it's probably going to throw you off because it threw me off. If you already bought tickets for a show, hold on to those tickets. Shows are being rescheduled. And the best thing you can do is to keep those tickets in hand and listen, the money's gone. You already bought the ticket. Anytime I buy something from months ago, that money's gone. It's not going to help me out today as it did 4 months ago. But that money that's in there is keeping these venues alive. So you need to hold on. And you see your bands, and you're probably saying, well, I don't have a rescheduled date yet. You don't have a rescheduled date yet because none of us know when that date is going to be possible. So that's what everybody is waiting. Trust me, behind the scenes, everybody wants to get back at work just as probably more than you want to go to a show and see your show family and be up against that barricade and be able to sing along with your favorite band. But I did find this funny, Frank, and tell me if maybe it's just rock shows, but it said that when concerts do return, moshing will be something of the past. Moshing and crowd surfing will never be allowed again. I was like, I don't know how long that's going to last. Did you see that article?
Well, I see a lot of stuff on paper, and a lot of stuff on paper that applies to a lot of different things, even outside of our industry. I mean, how the industry and how everyone associated with letting this, industry open back up is going to look at that stuff. I don't know I have no idea what they're going to say. I mean, I'm hearing stupid, ridiculous things like you're never going to be able to shake somebody's hand again. It's like, I'm sorry, but I'm shaking people's hands. It's like, that's not ever going to change. So, how it happens to moshing and everything else, I guess that's to be seen. I hope we don't live in a world outside of this that everybody needs to, not have any interaction, because I couldn't imagine what kind of life that would be. So, I know what I'm hoping for, and I'm hoping for, the whole wheel to go back to the way it used to be. So let's see what happens.
All right. So obviously you have been rescheduling stuff, and you have moved stuff to July and August and September and October. Are you just thinking optimistically that maybe by then you will be having those shows again?
Well, it's like we've been just like every other venue. We've been moving shows and rescheduling since all this started happening in March. So, the thing everybody needs to understand with rescheduling is, bands and managers plan according, with touring a lot of times around record cycles. So they have a definitive plan as to when they're going to go out on tour and why, because more times than not, they're supporting something, and that something usually is music. So what's happening is, we're taking everything that's in a first quarter and a second quarter and taking all those shows, moving them into a third and fourth quarter that people already had all their plans, set up for. Now we're bombarding those 2 months with 2 and 3 months of shows that were in a completely different time period, and we're trying to cram them all into a calendar in that time. And there's a lot of things that have to happen for agents to actually route all those dates together, sequentially. Sometimes, the venues that they're trying to get in that time to connect the dots, they ain't available.
Yep.
So I can understand, people that have tickets in hand, waiting for a show to get rescheduled with a new date. All I ask them is be patient. We're trying to get through this as fast as we possibly could. Bands don't want to be out there and have you, having tickets in limbo that they bought for your shows. Trust me, no band wants that. Me as a promoter, I don't want that. It's like if you have something of value that you gave to me and my venue, I want you to know what you're getting for that. And as fast as we could give you, guys that info back on a reschedule, we're going to do that. God forbid there's any kind of cancellations, which there just are. Sometimes, that time frame is the only time that band could work, and the show just has to go away. In those instances, by all means, ask for your refunds. We'll give your money back. But anything that's in play, if you're waiting on a reschedule on one of your favorite bands, whether it's going to be, move back to the end of 2020 or halfway through 2021, I'm just telling you, the best thing you could possibly do to keep your local music venue open is to support them and to give and to just leave that money there and go see that show, whether if it's 6 months, 9 months, or 15 months away.
When you started this, I believe you actually started a Forge GoFundMe for your staff. Is that correct?
We did.
Is that still live? Is that something that we could share when we get off this thing and people support?
That's positively still out there. Just about every venue that's out there has GoFundMes and different programs in place to support the people there. I know our staff here. I got a great staff. Everybody's family here. Everybody loves what they do and is itching to get back. So anything we could do to support them, I'll definitely send that to you after we get off. And if you guys could share that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And for everybody watching right now, I'm going to get that up at QRock107 on our Facebook page, where you're watching us right now, probably. And then please share all that as much as you can, because this isn't just, I think people, they don't understand that sometimes they think it's just bartenders and waiters. There's so much more, even more than security. There is the stagehands that work. There's the cleaning crews. There's the bar. There are so many people that all get into putting a venue together. From marketing, Nikki, I love you if you're watching right now. Everybody that out there that works hard to keep these venues live and keep these bands coming all need our help. So the best thing you can do is, if you bought a concert ticket, hold on to that concert ticket. Don't ask for a refund. We're looking on reschedules, but that money will help keep the smaller venues that you all know and love alive, and some of your favorite shows there. And then I feel like when this thing opens back up, it's going to be a great opportunity for local bands to be back booking on stages and tribute acts. Am I right, Frank? That would be the slow process of working people back in, would be tributes and locals, correct?
Sure, positively. I mean, we're, just by the nature of touring, you have to give yourself enough leeway. Generally, it's minimum 6 weeks out. So, I anticipate, depending on what's on the books when we turn back on, usually it's somewhere between 6 to 12 weeks in general. Agents are booking shows out, of this size. So, filling in the gaps in between that is all going to be, local tributes and anything else that we can put in here. I think everybody's going to be quite excited to come back and not just
live music,
just live music. Honestly, just to experience life again, just to walk out and have the luxury of walking into a store without a mask, or going and having a beer at the corner bar with your buddy. I mean, I think if anything's going to happen after all this, is everyone's going to appreciate what life truly is after we get out of this.
And they're going to wash their hands more. I think that's what's going to happen too. I think that's what's going to happen too. I actually don't do that.
Right after they shake my hand.
Shut up, Frank. Oh man, FM Entertainment, my man Frank on right now as we are discussing the future of concerts, what they're going to look like, when they're going to happen, and of course the biggest thing, how you can help out. You could always check out the full calendar and updates on theforgelive.com. Also check out the website saveourstages.com. And as we said before, if you already bought concert tickets, hold on to those tickets. Rescheduled dates will come. It's the best way to keep your venues alive. Frank, what else are we missing? Did I cover everything? Did I do a good job?
You know what, I would just say, through the downtime, there's going to be things that are happening as you see now. There's a lot of streaming, which I think is going to be a permanent part of what the landscape of this industry is going to be moving forward. If it's the only way you could see and support the bands that you love, tune in, whether it's just whether or not it's a Monday night or a Wednesday night, they're going to like to see you on a feed. Bands are just trying to stay relevant. They're trying to stay, important in everybody's lives. And anything you can do to support them is just going to help them want to come back and get back at things when things open up. So support them any way you can.
Yeah, merch is always a great thing. A lot of bands are actually doing big sales right now and deals because a lot of times bands print out T-shirts for particular tours. And they'll say 2020 on them. But if that tour comes in 2021, now they got boxes and boxes of T-shirts from 2020 that they're unloading. I've noticed that a lot of bands are doing big discounted deals. And the best way you can support a band directly is actually by buying their merch. And a lot of them have those websites. Frank, and I'll be honest with you, since we've been home, I've been more one-on-one with bands and listeners than I've ever been before. I can be in my box in my studio and answer a phone call or see a Facebook post. But since we started all this interaction, having the one-on-one with the bands and fans has been unbelievable. So thank you to everybody that has been watching and staying interacted and staying engaged with all this. Do you see bigger bands actually moving on to actually having concerts where, say, a person pays a $5 fee and they're at a venue like yours at the Forge where it's live and there's a watch party? I pay $5 and I watch a 60-minute set from one of my favorite bands on an actual club stage. Do you think that is something that people are kicking around as well?
Oh, positively you'll see that. And I think like I said, that's one of the things I think you're going to see that's going to remain a constant in our industry after this all lets up. I mean, I think people are kind of realizing, that's another monetization point that they have in a way to reach their fans in a way they haven't really been taking advantage of in the past. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that kind of moving forward. And I think you're going to see a lot of things derive even from that. So, it's like anything. Anytime there's an obstacle in life like this, there's always solutions on the other side. And I think some of the things that you're going to see are going to be innovative and are going to be part of this industry that hasn't been part of it before. So, if anything, I think you'll see some cool stuff, out on the other side of this that'll be part of our landscape.
Yeah, another cool thing that we were talking a little bit before is meet and greets like this. A lot of bands are saying, you know what, I've talked to labels and management and said, we can do VIP meet and greets with these private rooms and you'll get to go one-on-one with your favorite band. So watch out in the future. You could be sitting in a room just like this. As I say sitting, it's kind of weird, but being in a virtual room with your favorite bands. So virtual meet and greets are a possible thing. So we are going to be seeing a lot more added using technology moving forward. But let's be honest, there's still nothing better than grabbing your buddy and being at a live show with a beer. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
There's nothing better than that, obviously, but the lifeblood of touring bands right now is just that. It's touring. It's just because the way the industry is situated and what's happened in music and in the sales and percentages, how they're split. Bands are hurting because they can't get on the road. This is truly the lifeblood of what their careers are for the most part, for the most of them. So if there's an opportunity to go out there support them by buying a download or getting a stream or whatever, it's all going to help them in the bottom line. So help them with their streams, help them with their sales, buy some merchandise. That's the way you can support them until they get back and actually get to play in front of you. So
this has been awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I knew talking to you, I knew you that it just because there's so many questions and so people just they're at a loss. They're at a loss because they need it and they want it so bad. And I always laugh when I have the bands on for my Rock On Studio show. I think people forget that they're sitting at home too. Like we're all like, it's corny. The whole we're all in this together. I'm not going to say that, but literally everyone is at home doing this. And even your favorite bands want to get out of the house and play. We all want to get out there.
Everybody's chomping at the bit to kind of just move back on and get back to what we all love doing. And, God willing, we'll get back to that. I just think everybody needs to keep, cool heads. We'll all get through this. Keep your demeanor to where it needs to be, be respectful to everybody, and we'll get through. We will.
That's the rock and roll community, man. One big giant family. And I think that's why we all love this format more than any other format there is, because there's nothing like it when it comes to family, lifestyle, and culture like there is in the rock and roll world. Nothing. Really nothing like that. I mean, I do a lot of stuff in the bike community because I ride, and I can honestly say it's like those two groups, those two demographics. I mean, just beautiful, man. I mean, people who do anything, give you a shirt off their back, and all they want is what makes them smile. So let's get back to that. Yeah, we all look like weirdos, but we're all pretty good people.
For the most
part. Frank from FN Entertainment, The Forge, and more, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. I'm going to be replaying this on the air multiple times. I'll give you those post dates so when people need to check it out. Plus, please share this link and help us spread the word about the things you can do to help support your local venues, as in saveourstages.com, and, of course, keeping a hold on those concert tickets, because one day you're going to be building memories with those tickets that you're never going to forget. And sure as hell, after this is all over, that first concert we all go to is going to be one none of us will ever forget. So, Frank, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Give us the information that we need. And everybody, don't forget to check out the Forge GoFundMe link. I will get that up as soon as Frank gets it over to me. And till the next time, bud, virtual hug. Virtual hug.
Virtual hugs and shake my hand, brother. I can't wait to do that again in person. Hell yeah.
Q Rock's live from the Rock On Studio. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great weekend. Peace.
Thank you, bro.